Okay. Okay, so what happens if we use the Jumbo Exact 25.39 and we turn those up and make about 40 foot-pounds, and we hit the clay blocks? Since I retrieved the slugs and the pellets out from the other test, I basically have two halves of a clay block, put them back to back, so that gives double the thickness, and we'll take it and hit it with 40 foot-pounds of a 25.39 pellet, and let's see what happens. Now, I don't have my box of sand behind the clay block, but if we get a pass through, I will probably redo this, and we'll put the clay block behind, or the box of sand behind. That was a pretty good hit. And we can see we sprayed. I can see that there is clay on the lens of the camera, so that's a pass-through. And then there is the hole, and honestly, I think I'm not far from maybe going all the way through to the other side. Let's clean the camera here for a second. Okay. Got our camera clean. All right, and let's cut through. All right, here's our 22 caliber hole. And we are, honestly, we're not far from going through the back side of the block. Well, I tell you what, I thought this is harder stuff than I remember. I remember playing with this stuff as a kid, and I thought it was pretty easy to deal with. Okay, there is our pellet. It basically turned into a dome. It did expand a little bit. I guess it was a dome the whole time, actually. But good penetration, almost all the way through the first block, and pretty deep into the second. And then there's our recovered pellet. Okay, we're going back over to the 177 now, and this is with the 15 grain NSA Slug. It's the heaviest projectile that I have for the 177 caliber, and where the 12.5 grains were running at about 970, 975, I think these will be running just shy of 900. They're in the high 800 range in feet per second. Foot-pounds of energy are very similar between the two, as I recall. So let's just see what the performance difference is between them. But let's see what we got. Okay, passed through the first block and right there into the second. And it did expand some. See if we can clean the clay out of it. So there is the expansion. And there is a 22 caliber pellet from the 14.3 grain. And then here is the 12.5 from the first test. So you can see expansion was not as good, but went through one whole block. And I would still say that probably my observation previously, where with the decreased velocity, FPE on both projectiles were roughly about the same with the loss of velocity on the heavier projectile. So sort of what I've seen is my preference is going with the 12.5 because you can't argue with the expansion. Although, you know, nothing wrong with that. So that's what we got for this little outing.